Hello, everybody, and welcome to the JayTheory interview show. I hope you have your caps on and are ready to talk to a great guy and experience a good time. Since today we are joined by an amazing guest, also known as American Populist, or as he's also known as AP, which is how we will be referring to him today. Anyway, AP, please introduce yourself.
Well, if you guys don't know who I am, I'm a small YouTuber on YouTube. I do a bunch of reactionary content covering history, politics, philosophy. I'm also a part of the AP. I do some script writing along with Obsidian Mind over here. It's pretty fun. Tend to do that.
Yes, we do that indeed. And as you guys did not know, I am now. You all know what my Discord handle is, since everyone else knows me as Jamie. But everyone now knows that my Discord channel is Obsidian Mind, which is truly the case. So anyway, can you please tell us a little bit about yourself, AP? Guess a little bit more into the life, since we really want to know who this man is before we get into your content, what your future videos are gonna be, and everything else about you.
Oh yeah, that's some pretty interesting content there. So my political journey, I kind of started off as like a pretty apolitical, like most people, most normal people.
Yeah, it's pretty regular. Let's be honest.
First time I even knew what politics were was in the 2012 election with Obama versus Romney, and we had like one of those like fake elections. And
Bro, we had the same thing. My elementary school had that junk. Not even joking.
yeah, no surprise, most kids voted for Obama, but
yeah.
base person, he didn't, even though we all know how bad Romney is, but beyond the point.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the first time I became aware of politics, and I've always been like slightly conservative because I come from a Christian Southern background, mainly, and I kind of woke up during like when they were attacking the Confederate flag back in 2015, 2016, that era. Because my first camp became really political. They started banning the Confederate flag everywhere, taking it down in like the South.
Yeah. So basically,
whatever your opinion on that symbol is, doesn't matter. It's a historical part of the South.
Yeah.
And it was a attack on our culture here, but
yeah. So basically, it was the threat. Yeah, it was the threat of them taking down the statues, and the increasing like tearing down of like the Confederate flag and like the monuments and stuff like that really got you involved in the political sphere. Or at least, would you say the online political sphere or like the IRL political sphere?
Online. But I'm starting to more get into real life now, actually, which is much more important. But anyway, back to the story. Yeah, this was before they went after statues, by the way. Before they started tearing those down en masse. So yeah, they went after the Confederate flag, and I remember Walmart banned all Confederate flag thing, like paper plates and flags, just really gay. But then my grandfather, who was a Southern nationalist, he brought me over a Confederate flag, and I saw it was kind of like cool. The media was talking about it, of course. They were big screeching about it. Racism, racism, black people. Of course, they mind the fact that black people are Southerners too, but like, they have to make everything about their agenda, of course, and they're liars. We all know this by now. But anyway, yeah, he brought that over, and I think it wasn't that point that I became like a real conservative. I think it was like a month afterwards. I started discovering, some right-wing people on YouTube. Actually, my journey started off, I wasn't a normicon at first. I was actually, I found the alt-right on YouTube pretty fast, actually.
And the pipeline, like there was no pipeline. It was a hip and a jump.
Yeah, I didn't stop it.
So who were those early? Yeah, who were those early creators that got you interested in then?
That because they were all taken off. YouTube was way different back in 2015, 2016. But yeah, I kind of got started with Vincent James Alsop, or Andy Worski. I found Dave. No, I didn't find him until later. But it was a bunch of these like the original alt-right on YouTube before they were like called that. They became famous.
Yeah, it was All Right wasn't until I don't know when did All Right become a popular term? That was yeah, it was Charlottesville, I think. Yeah.
That's when everybody knew what that term was. Like before that, it was kind of just like a collection of people who were more right wing than the mainstream GOP at that time, which was very standard Obama type Bush Republicans
Yeah.
mainly.
Yeah, and when the alt right was truly solidified, that's the funny thing I think is that when the alt right was finally solidified, it literally marked the collapse of the alt right. So the alt right come together and then collapsed in the span of a month. It's like we solidified this is the alt right, and then it exploded.
Yeah, I originally found most of the members of the alt right from like gaming, YouTube actually, which is where I originally started because it was very apolitical.
Oh no, is it? Are you bringing up Gamergate? It's all Gamergate. It all goes back to Gamergate. Is that it?
That was the start of something in the change on YouTube, Gamergate. I'm not gonna get into that because I don't really care. It's lame.
Yeah.
So it was Vincent James, James Alsop. It was Alex Jones, Andy Worski, the original crew on YouTube who were pretty big,
Yeah.
And then I can't remember when it originally happened, but Charlottesville happened in front of me, on YouTube. I watched it live on TV as it happened, and on YouTube as well. It was Vincent James and Baked Alaska's stream actually, with them going to Charlottesville and everything happening. And then, them streaming on the TV, they were screeching, about all these were alt right people. And then, I didn't even know about James Fields until like a day later. And then they never stopped talking about that. But,
was that the person that died?
Yeah, he was the guy in the Dodge Dart who ran over that girl.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, but that whole rally, to protect its original cause was actually good. It was to protect a statue from being taken down and the chain.
Yeah, it was called Unite the Right, right? Wasn't it called the Unite the Right rally?
It was before that, and it was called Unite the Right rally.
Yeah.
And it was for a good cause originally, but then its organizers, if you remember, were Richard Spencer, Chris Cantwell, and Mike Enoch. And there's your problem right there,
Yeah.
Those people who are absolute retards. But we'll go into them later and how they messed up their movement. But yeah, the Charlottesville happened in front of me. I didn't really understand what it was because I wasn't really following that sphere too well at that time, but I was aware of the distance.
Yeah.
Yeah, but then a week later, it just blew up. Everybody was talking about it. High schools, middle schools. It was just everywhere, and everyone on YouTube blew up. There was a bunch of blood sports happened around that time in 2016. You had James Alsop and Nick Fuentes going at it. And then it was other people, and then that's when after that moment is when they decided to start banning people off YouTube and deplatforming them.
Yeah, that was about when like the adpocalypse happened, right? I mean, it wasn't. I mean, the adpocalypse had like many different factors, but
was that the first one? I think it was the first big one. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was back in 2015, 2016 era. Yeah, the original adpocalypse happened after that. Because all the advertisers were freaking out. Their advertisers were appearing as Nazi YouTuber chats.
And also, you also had like the PewDiePie thing too. That was when PewDiePie had his thing too, right? And they were calling him like a fascist.
I didn't really watch PewDiePie that much. I watched some of his gaming streams, but I haven't watched him in years. But yeah, gotta support him over JayTheory, but
of course, everyone supports every single good person supports PewDiePie over JayTheory. I mean, come on, that's really the scale, and if you're a good guy or not.
No, it truly is. If you don't, you're cringe. Supporting an Indian company. I mean, what are you? You're not even a right wing person at that
Exactly.
point. Yeah, but anyway, so that's when the persecution started to happen, and then that big article came out, the pipeline, everybody started talking about. You remember that article? That big article, where they talked about, Ben Shapiro and the other normicons,
yeah,
conservatives, Mr. Reagan, Ben Shapiro. What's the other guy's name? Steven Crowder.
Steven Crowder, and then you go to like Well, then you go into Sargon, and then after Sargon, you get to Alex Jones. Then after Alex Jones, you get into Mike Enoch, and then after Mike Enoch, you
and Vincent James, which I was always a big Vincent James person. I was never a Richard Spencer type person. I always thought he was very cringe, and he was always been stupid from 2015. I remember that. Um, he fucked up the rally in every way possible. He invited these speakers on. Then the police conspired, to box them in and let the protesters fight. It was just a big mess, and everybody was doxxed and harassed. Antifa started to become about. I think
yeah, that really was like after
that was the
that.
birth of Antifa. I think
Yeah.
25th, that rally at Charlottesville, because I don't remember Antifa before that point. I mean, they could have existed. I know they have existed in Europe. They started in France, I believe. The name originates from World War II anti-fascista movements and the French resistance, but it's mainly just a gay.
Yeah, the communist anti-fascist. I mean, that's what it comes from, right? Like the original anti-fascists were like French communists.
Yeah, that's where it originally comes from. But then they started opening up in the U.S. But yeah, that's when they started to really beat people up, and harass people, and that's when I remember just like the whole alt-right movement. Before that, like a couple months before that, it was actually going really well. It was growing on YouTube. Andy Worski live. All the debates, blood sports. The alt-right was crushing, like, Sargon, all these mainstream right-wing people. They would never debate them.
I wasn't like super.
They would get destroyed.
Yeah, I wasn't super big into the sphere at that time, but I was on like the edges of that kind of stuff, and it really did feel like it was like a new. There was the potentiality for like a new era, and like the continuation, and forming into something great. I think something great that's visible to the mainstream, but it didn't exactly start out that way. I'm sure you can get into it.
Oh yeah, I'll get into why their movement failed, but like, yeah. It felt like the alt-right was discovering something new. They started bringing up, the original America First points. They started talking about immigration. Vincent James, all these people started talking about demographic replacement, and then the Great Replacement theory. I'm not sure if I'd say that, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
There was Laurel Newmer. All these people. They all started talking about this shit in like 2015. It seemed fresh. It seemed like their movement was going to take over the GOP and replace, this mainstream like Mitt Romney, Bush, era Republicanism, which is just neoconism.
Yeah, it's just a mess. Yeah, it's just an absolute mess. Yeah, and it's liberals. So with tax cuts, wow, we're winning now. No, that's not winning, Chief. That's being 10 years behind.
The change in the suburban demographics, how that coalition couldn't even happen now, but that's beyond the scope of the story. So yeah, Charlottesville and all those people, and then that big article came out talking about all the people who were there. They were all doxxed, and then I remember James Allsups was taken off YouTube, and he had a big YouTube channel. I think it was like 400,000 on YouTube.
I think so, yeah.
Person to be taken off permanently, and he's never been back. But he's an idiot anyways. He was a part of the Richard Spencer Wignat sphere of the dissonant right.
I mean, technically we say that, but he was also friendly with AF, and he was actually he had a show with Nick Fuentes that. So we say he's a Wignat, but it's more like he's a Wignat because he pissed off some certain people. Less so than that he was like more so in the middle of both camps, at least with my knowledge of him.
Yeah, but I remember he was the first big person that I remember being deplatformed, and that was like a new concept to me because before then, you could say whatever you want on YouTube. I mean, Alex Jones documentaries were available. You could deny the event that took place in Germany in the 30s. Type of YouTube content back then. And it seems like it was the Wild West back then. It was pretty great. But I remember after that article in Charlottesville, shortly after that, probably maybe a couple of weeks, he was taken off. He was gone 2017, I think, or 2018. His channel was nuked. Then they went after Alex Jones really hard, and they banned him off everything. then it just like spiraled from there. They started banning all the people, they started, deplatforming them, taking them off Twitter, Patreon, they even deplatformed, some of the normicons like Sargon, this
I
type
mean,
of people.
I guess I don't know if Sargon is like, it's like, is he like a hardcore norm? He's
Right wing now than he was back then. He was
yeah,
more,
but he was, I guess,
he was classical liberal territory.
yeah, he's pretty classical liberal. But yeah, he was like one of the more right wing guys on YouTube though. Was at the time there really wasn't a large right wing space though. Was like a lot of those actual right, yeah. Was like there's like the most you're gonna get even in like was like a lot of those guys rose up and like I don't know, like they started getting banned like maybe like 2013 stuff like that, because you have to realize that before then it was just like it was like Steven Crowder. We like everyone makes fun of Steven Crowder, but he was one of the first actually like conservative commentators on YouTube like at all. Was at the time it was just like what you had like the skeptics junk, and you had like the liberal junk, and like the left-wing groups, and like there was no real conservative groupings there. So we have to give a little shout outs to Steven Crowder for that.
Yeah, and Sargon, people like Gamergate, they brought a lot of people to the right, and we can't, let that slip our minds. They did good service back then. Their talking points are obviously outdated, but they did a lot of good things. Bringing people towards our direction.
Yeah.
And yeah, they started banning people, and it just got worse and worse. Every year they started banning more and more people. They started having these ban waves. Adpocalypse 2 happened. They took Vincent James off. They banned Nick.
They banned well they banned Alex Jones first though, right? They banned Alex Jones was in was that in 2017 or 2018?
I think that was in 2017. I could. It was in 2018 though. I'm pretty sure it was. It was one of those two. I know for sure it was. I'm not sure about James Allsup though. That was a long time ago. But yeah, they took all those people off, and then that kind of radicalized me more. I started watching more of these people. I'm like, why are they being censored? I started really getting into like the politics. These people talk about demographic replacement. How these demographics vote.
Who sold you on that though? Who sold you on the demographics issue?
That was Vincent James originally, and it was also James Allsup to a lesser extent. But yeah, they really got me on that bandwagon originally. Being a race realist or whatever you want to call it, but yeah, they brought up some really good points. They talk about the rising crime, how America was in the 50s, how it is now, because I never thought about diversity ever before in my life. I was always like I didn't really see race that much. I was raised in Florida, which is very multicultural,
Oh yeah.
I come from a very, very middle class, like suburb, I guess that's what we'll call it. It's Florida, so not exactly, the breeding grounds, rural areas for like the right-wing people would usually come from.
Well, yeah.
Not so much the intellectual class. They would come from like the cities and suburbs, but the base Republican comes from the rural areas, for the most part.
Yeah.
The really hardcore ones do.
Yeah, that's like the middle American radical, right? Yeah, it comes with like that idea.
Pretty much, yeah. I was one of those people. I didn't realize it though, but yeah. So they started talking about demographics and immigration. I remember I was like, yeah, that makes sense. Why are we letting in 1 million immigrants per year? And then they talked about the border, drugs. People were dying of opioids back then. That was a big thing. They would talk about the opioid crisis that was hitting the Midwest and Appalachia really hard back then. Thousands of people were dying from overdoses from opiates by the Sackler family. And people were dying of despair. All this shit was happening. They talked about the decline of America's industrial base, the Midwest, But they were more like they were more into like electoral politics, how these how these racists vote, talked about Hispanics, whites, how whites are the only group in favor of gun rights and free speech and all that. And I was like, yeah. So I started going further and further down that way,
So did you ever become like a hardcore like election head, like those hardcore like election bros online?
Um, I would say so, but I was more of a race realist, and I was also election because I was like, yeah, the Republicans are going to win if we keep importing all these Hispanics, all these other groups, But I didn't really have like a social media presence back then. I wish I did though, because that was the era to do it. But
Yeah, to be honest, I'm glad I didn't. I'm glad.
more of a like a Vincent
Yeah.
James type person, But and they had some good points too. I think actually,
Yeah. I mean,
they moved the right, towards these points, which we need to discuss, like immigration. I talked about the decline of the family, America's decline, all these like social ills. So they brought up a bunch of really good points. These mainstream conservatives wouldn't touch, of course, we know why.
yeah.
Because they're bought off and paid for, and they can't say that shit. Otherwise, they'll be deplatformed or their sponsorships would be taken away. I'm thinking of like, a few big names,
Mhm.
you know who I'm talking about.
Yeah.
But yeah, I watched those people for like months,
Yeah. But I mean, don't feel bad about having a political preference though, since an online presence though back then was like I feel like a lot of that stuff can like hurt you and hurt friendships and like even just like your school life and stuff like that unnecessarily, but it's not like you can do anything like unless you're trying to be unless you were trying to be like a political activist back then, like like posting like your political stuff really doesn't matter unless like you're purposefully going out there to like change people's minds.
I wasn't really the type of person. I just kind of kept my politics to myself, But I was just like a really radical person back then, I was like, we have to stop immigration, we got to save the American people, we're declining, our society's gonna die,
So
And then also talk about
basically,
South Africa, like what happened to the
yeah.
whites, once they became minority there,
Yeah.
And it's just like, yeah, this is really bad.
So basically, like with your close friends, you were like, yeah, I do hate the nah, I hate the but then in person you're like, I love black people. Is that okay?
Yeah, I wouldn't have those conversations with my friends, And we would talk about mainstream stuff. I mean, most of my friends were very apolitical. I was the only political person, because I think I just get it from my cultural heritage and my grandfather mainly. Is why, because otherwise I probably would have been an apolitical person. I never was a leftist or like a libertarian. I was always like kind of center right ish. That's how I would describe my politics before, the birth of the alt right.
Yeah.
But
Didn't post the cringe. I mean, I was kind of a lulber. There was a time, was I think that's just kind of like the high school conservative ways to be a little bit of a lulbird, I guess, was you're dealing with a lot of like liberal girls and you're trying to be friends with them and stuff like that, and you have like liberal girlfriends, no, girls that are friends and stuff like that, and it's just like you don't want the conflict, and also it's just like, well, you can do I guess I'm not really for it. It's like kind of bad, but like you know
yeah, I wasn't mainly concerned about that because I wouldn't have those kind of connections with them.
I forgot that AP did not, he was anti-woman back then. AP already knew.
That wasn't a thing back then. There was a few that's like shootings, by those incels. I mean, like that started to happen too. I mean, yeah, a bunch of shit kicked off after that. There was a bunch of fights, infighting, betrayals. People were going on the kill stream, Andy Worski live, to hash out their drama. We call this era the blood sports of the alt right.
Yeah.
And
Oh, I guess how. Yeah, was you said you wanted to get into the fall of the alt right, right? And I guess and also I want to. Can you also get into how that affected you then? How that affected your politics, right? Like how did that make you feel? Did you feel like it was the end of the right wing, or it would be a new rebirth, or like how did it affect you? Like what was the story, and like how did it affect you?
Then yeah. So and in that alt right sphere, the Vincent James, you still had some of those Wagnats. He had a couple of them. I would watch some of them sometimes, but I wasn't really into their sphere. But yeah, at that time, Richard Spencer just sabotaged that movement. He's an idiot. That's why. Let's just be real here. He had a bunch of idiots that surrounded him, and he's also a Fed too. So like, there's no way he was going to actually lead a movement of right wing people to save America. And he just sabotaged it from the inside. And there's tons of live streams discussing this. And he just didn't have any like ideas, to bring with him. He didn't like have these great these intellectual solutions to our problems, they weren't talking about, elite theory, politics, how we can replace our elite class. They weren't talking about that stuff. They were just like, it was just like race politics, dumb, black, or, that kind of thing,
Yeah, it was
smart stuff,
yeah, it was like
So that's why
worthless. Like it
the
was
movement fell apart. And as they got censored, there was lawsuits and all that shit. And yeah, they just kind of fell off after they were banned. They just declined into irrelevance. That's kind of a good thing. I kind of fell into like the um, AF sphere. And then I didn't really see their movement. I thought it was new at the time, but like I didn't really see their movement dying as like a bad thing because AF was like arising at that point. There was Nick and all these other people. Vincent James was in that part of that sphere at that time. I thought, yeah, these guys are going to take up the torch. They actually have solutions. They're talking about, getting political candidates elected. I was like, yeah, that's really smart. Let's get people aligned with our interest. Who aren't going to be bought off, by these PACs in Congress. They would talk about, you know, loyalty to other countries in the Middle East, type of stuff. And I was like, yeah, these guys are the future of the right wing. And so that's kind of how I thought about it. I thought the Wignac kind of stuff, the Richard Spencer sphere of the alt right, I just kind of saw that as like a temporary thing. They were kind of riding a wave, people moving to discovering our theory of politics,
yeah.
And I thought it was a good thing, but they kind of served their purpose, and there's no way Richard Spencer and all those people were going to carry on an actual movement. They just didn't have the intellectual capacity to do it. They never read books. They're just very stupid. That's the way I would say it. And so I fell into the AF sphere. You know, then those people started to get banned. They started going off to other platforms.
When was that? Was that like 2019? I'm trying to remember. When did like the AF sphere start getting banned? I was
2019, I think. 2019, the very end of 2018, I think, was when Nick was banned off YouTube the first time, I believe. It was the end of 2018 or 2019. But yeah, that's when all those people started to get banned. They went over to D Live and all those other platforms, and yeah. But I kind of got blackpilled. I was like, yeah, we're being censored. Our movement can't really go anywhere. We're being censored, being attacked. Because we're spreading the truth. And I kind of fell off there.
You were still in high school then, right?
Yeah, I was like, that was like maybe
already black
from graduating at that point.
Already blackpilled. That's just how it is now. That's just how it is in modern politics. Like high schoolers are already blackpilled. Like next thing you know, middle schoolers, elementary schoolers, they're already gonna be chewing that black pill hardcore.
No, I wasn't blackpilled until like the second half of my high school years. Truly, like 2019. That's when I was blackpilled. Yeah. Trump was elected during that first wave. I thought that was a great thing. I thought it was so epic. He defeated Hillary Clinton. The establishment. We were winning. He was gonna stop immigration. He was gonna do all these good things. All these people were talking about how they got people in the administration. How we're gonna win. And I was like, yeah, we're gonna win. And I was like, no, we're not. We don't control any of the institutions.
You're like, we got this. Then we're screwed.
Yeah, I kind of got disaffected with the politics sphere, but I like Trump. Obviously, he's a great guy. He's really funny. I had the best Twitter account, by the way. Those were the best years on Twitter, honestly. But yeah, after AF, they started winning on those other platforms. Kind of got lost for a little bit. I was still right wing by that point. I was firmly right wing. Nothing was going to change me. I wasn't going to become a leftist or centrist.
What do you mean? You weren't gonna pull a Hunter Avalon on us? You weren't gonna?
No. I remember him. His content was always gay though, and he was just a very stupid person. But yeah, but those are the type of people who were in the Wignac sphere. They were just very stupid people. Who could ride the wave of making fun of fat people and SJWs for like a couple years when that was a big thing. That was the entirety of their content.
Yeah,
there was no substance to it though.
Yeah, your movement has to be more than just like making fun of like stupid stuff or like appearances. It has to have like actual meat to it, and something to strive forward to for your followers, and something with like real meaning, which I think is something that the right wing is now starting to grab onto, is something with real meat, passion, and truth to it.
Having a cause that's bigger than yourself to it, and I'll get into that in a little bit. But yeah, and then they would just like backstab each other all the time. and blood sports in that era. And it was just always all this stupid drama, and they would report each other. There was doxing, there's lawsuits. They just weren't serious. They weren't an actual movement that could change, our situation, in the West or America. But yeah, after that, I discovered, Charlemagne and like the dissident right, the intellectual space of the dissident right. So I started watching Dave the Distributist, Charlemagne,
That's
Academic
like
Agents,
NRX, right? Is that
yeah,
NRX?
NRX. You can call it NRX or the intellectual sphere of the dissident right, whatever you want to call it.
Well, can you explain what that is, though? Explain what that is for the people watching.
Okay, so NRX is a neo-reactionary, which is a really base, political ideology that talks about elite theory. It just like discusses how democracy is just fake, and which I was kind of suspecting at that time because I was like, yeah, they're just bringing all these people who vote for them. So I was like, yeah. So I was kind of predisposed to ideas, but yeah, they kind of just explained how it actually works, and so yeah, it just made sense to me. And I was like, yeah. So I started watching them, Settlers Lament, the NRX sphere. They brought up good points. They talked about the cathedral, the institutions, how they brainwash people, how the colleges work, how they get elites, who are on their side, and why America always moves left. It was like, yeah, these guys have an actual movement here, and it's been up and down with them ever since. But that's kind of where I am right now, I would say. So that was my journey, my political journey, from apolitical to like NRX to dissident intellectual, dissident right winger.
Yeah.
Reading some James Buchanan, Death of the West, James Burnham, some of these like Italian elite theorist books. I highly recommend you read them if you want to look into the sphere.
You hear that,
I don't know
folks?
how much of your people actually know about the NRX type stuff.
They probably do not. They ain't knowing nothing.
Or just watch Dave the Distributist. Watch a lot of his videos. Like he'll explain it to you, or Charlemagne. They'll get you started.
Yeah, I have seen some of their distributed stuff. Personally, like I don't know if I describe myself as like NRX per se, but I think they do have some good points. And their videos are actually interesting and fairly informative. So I would actually recommend that you check them out.
Yeah, and then you had John Doyle and APU, and that's kind of where my focus is now. Like actual real life activism. When I work with APU, I believe they're going to make a change. I see a future with them.
Yeah. Why do you see the future? Why do you think the future will go more towards like people like John Doyle, like the APU and stuff like that?
Because they're just actually serious people. They're not constantly having drama like the old alt-right. They have the intellectual stuff. They understand how politics works. They understand democracy is fake. They understand how our elite class works and how the colleges brainwash people and everything. And they understand this. They have a basic understanding, but they can convey it to the normicons. Which is really important. To bring those people on our side. To grow the movement. So that's why I see the future with AP.
Yeah, I also like how they're also a little bit more realistic, I guess, and not just going like super hard, especially like the college thing, right? Like they say that college in general you probably shouldn't go if you don't need to, and they should focus on trade and stuff like that. But they also do say that we do need an intellectual elite, and that some people do need to go to college and infiltrate, and also just like live lives and have access to resources, was those are very important to any form of movement as well. So I like that honesty with that, and that and the intellectual that takes to have a more while we do hate on nuance a lot in like these spheres, sometimes nuance is a little bit important at the very least.
And also just having that time preference, because with the original AF, alt-right people, they were like, we have 5 years to save the country, it's like it's going to take time to get rid of these people, and we might not be able to save America, but we might be able to build something new from the ashes, as the academic agent likes to say. But
yeah, at the very least, try and save your community and your family. Was that's the minimum of at least what you should try and to do.
Yeah, that's kind of my intellectual journey. That's why I see the future with APU, Vincent James. Sorry, not Vincent James. Vince Dow.
That's right.
Vince Dow. John Doyle, David Carlson, all the other writers, the APU, which I'm one of them, Obsidian Light, I see the future with us. We're highly motivated young Zoomers. We get it. We understand how politics works. So,
Yeah.
and I think we have the patience and time preference that the alt-right, the original one, didn't have, and we're just optical, which is very important.
Yeah, of
for the
course.
normies, which they never had at all. Because they were mostly feds for the most part. The feds in that movement. I mean,
Well, yeah.
which is why it fell apart and declined to irrelevance.
Okay, so you've covered you've covered that part, right? If you've covered your political journey, have you got that?
Yeah, I would say that's like a fairly important summary of
Okay.
my political journey.
So what motivated you to get into content creation though? Was you do have a YouTube channel, his YouTube channel, American Populist, which everyone should go subscribe. The link is down below. But like, what got you on that content creation journey? Like, and who inspired you to specifically start that channel?
It was David Carlson and John Doyle, to be honest with you. Intellectually inspired me to finally make my own YouTube channel, because originally it was a gaming channel, but I got rid of that. So
wait, we use games? Wait. Before you continue, what type of games did you play?
I played some like Battlefield 1 to Call of Duty and stuff like that.
Oh, okay.
That's not very important stuff. Anyway.
Hey, the people want to know. The people want to know. Okay.
Yeah, I'm sharing the stuff. During the backstory information to my channel.
Yeah.
Yeah, but all those videos are private. I'm not going to show them because they're very cringe.
I mean, maybe we could get a special clip that we're playing right now for the podcast.
Maybe when I hit 1,000, I'll show some of the backlog of the current videos. But yeah. Anyway, let's get back to the important stuff. Yeah, so those people inspired me because I wanted to make my own content. I saw these people were really doing something. They were fairly intelligent. They also had a lot of young Zoomers joining them. So I was like, yeah, I want to give my own voice on YouTube. So I started out with election stuff, because that's my original background comes from, in the original alt-right. So I started doing election stuff. I did that for like a month or two. Then I started getting into like real like politics, history, and philosophy, stuff that's really important. Actually, kind of like stopped making the being an election channel. I was kind of cringe, part of my YouTube journey.
Yeah.
Those videos are still up though. You can see them on my channel. But now I'm making more like philosophy videos, history videos about America.
Yeah, those have actually become more popular as well. I think on the YouTube right-wing scene, that's become more popular since people have moved beyond like the the freaking the little politics and like the just like the straight on like racial stuff and the immigration stuff. Like they want the truth behind, like they want the reasoning behind that stuff now.
Yeah, they want to know why things are actually happening.
People are actually interested. They're interested in satisfying themselves intellectually as well, which I think is a good thing. Was you don't want just like straight followers. You want people to actually like think these things through, which I see hope for, which I think is the reason why this has a higher chance of succeeding than what they were doing in the past. In the recent past, at least.
And also, there's a bunch of feds in our movement, as far as I know, and there's constantly a bunch of drama, like there was,
well, there's a bit of drama. There's a bit of drama, but
there is. We'll get into that later. But yeah, that's why I see the future. Yeah, and so that's what I'm doing right now. I'm making more philosophy videos, history videos about politics, cultural issues about America, and I'm putting a lot more effort in my content. I do some live streams too about some geopolitics, discussing the Ukraine war, wish this conflict was over because of how boring it is. Yeah, it gets the views, which you gotta do when you're a young channel like me.
Well, yeah, I mean, come on, you gotta get to that thousands. You gotta get to that 1,000 number. Man's currently just below 200. We gotta get this man to 1,000 subscribers by the end of the year.
Very true, and I gotta stop being lazy too and make the videos because I have a bunch of videos, edited videos that are really good actually. I just need to stop being lazy. I have the scripts written for them, but yeah, that's the state of my channel. Content is coming. Yeah.
So what's the future for that then? What do you want to do with the channel in the next year? I guess.
I want to hit at least 500 within the next year. Start growing my content to be much more high quality edited videos. I'm akin to like John or David Carlson edited videos.
Yeah.
That's the quality I'm going to shoot for. Discussing some interesting topics. That's kind of where my channel's going. What I'm aiming for at the moment. I'm still gonna do live streams, but I'm probably gonna do them a little bit less. Space them out pretty evenly. Because a lot of you like that edited video I made about neo-Gassonism with John Doyle, which was a very fun video to make, I will say. And I want to make more videos like that actually, but just longer and more high quality.
Yeah, I think I saw that one. Yeah.
Yeah. So what do you want to talk about next?
We can talk a little bit about you. Didn't you say you had some stories you wanted to tell or stuff like that? Getting some.
I could tell some stories from my jobs that I worked at here in NC.
Yeah, since we're getting closer to the end, we gotta let the curtains down. So we're gonna see a little bit of that the private the private. I was gonna say the private part. That's I don't even know what I'm trying to say anymore. The hidden life, the private life behind the curtain. You're gonna get a glimpse behind the curtain.
Yeah, I'll tell some of these stories. I haven't told them before, so you're getting world-class content here right now. But yeah, so my first job was actually I worked at Home Depot as a front loader, which was a terrible job. I helped load like mulch and a bunch of other heavy shit. We had to, push them to people's cars, and I would get the buggies and put them back in the cart holder in the parking lots, at Home Depot. That was my first job, and on the first day, I got a blister on my hand, which sucked. And I didn't get any tips, so I got one tip for carrying this guy who's like this elderly person. It's like a giant bag of mulch, and these are big bags of mulch.
Yeah.
Anyway. And I'm a very tall and skinny person, so I'm not very muscular. So I want to see if you guys can get a picture mentally of me. I'm not very strong, but I'm very tall, lanky type person. But yeah, that was my first job, and after a day, I quit that job straight up.
It was done.
It was just a very shit job, and they worked it to death.
And also, see, while everyone else listened to the story, I was focusing on the idea that you said the word buggy and that you called it a buggy instead of a cart.
Well, yeah, there were buggies there too, these giant buggies where you would put bags of mulch. They were flat carts.
Do people call those buggies? Do people call those buggies? I don't know, man. I've never heard anyone call them buggies, but maybe I'm dumb.
Buggies in my mind, but yeah, that's just me. I call them buggies. You can call them carts.
Please fight in the comments below. Please fight in the comments below on if you call them carts or buggies or something else entirely.
Yeah, it's whatever. Yeah, so that was my first job, and I quit that job. And then my second job I worked at, and I actually like this job a lot more. I got a job at Jersey Mike's, and I worked there for almost a month, actually, which is more than my worked there for a day, I think. Quit because how much it sucked, and I hated it. Yeah, don't follow me though. My quitter attitude, guys.
Yeah, guys, keep the job, work hard.
Don't be me. But yeah, I got this job at Jersey Mike's, doing the sandwich place, sub place. Pretty good actually, much better than Subway.
Yeah, did you get the tips?
Yeah, I got pretty good tips there. I made some decent money as well.
See, I mean, hey, that means that people might have found you attractive, because that's what those tips are really do depend on your looks. I mean, come on.
Yeah, let me get into the funny stories though when I worked at Jersey Mike's. So one time I was working at the register, and at Jersey Mike's you can call ahead and order an order and go in store and pick it up. Store pickup. And so this guy came in and he wanted to pick up his order, but on the bags they have the system where you write the name on them, and I didn't see, but they're on the top shelf because there's a big shelf at the front of the store where they carry all these carry-in orders. So I didn't see his order at the top, so I just thought they were still making it. So I was like, yeah, it'll be just another 5 minutes. Then another 5 minutes come by, and you have to say another 5 minutes because I was looking through all of them, I couldn't find it, and then I think an hour passed by, and I finally found it with the help of this other guy because it was at the very top or something. Or the name of his order was hidden for some reason. I don't know why. I can't remember.
It was an hour,
he
bro.
An hour, yeah, to get the sub. I felt really bad for him.
It was a sub.
My fault. I think it was, or it was 2 subs.
What? Well, you could have just made another one at that rate, bro. I would have been complaining to the manager that it took it.
Yeah, he just took his subs and left. It was kind of my fault, but I kind of like blamed the other workers. Yeah.
See, I'm not gonna lie, that guy was pretty dumb because if you're waiting an hour, the man could have been like, "Hello, I need to talk to your manager. I need to I need to get this for free. I need to get this for free."
That was kind of my fault, but at the same time, it wasn't. Yeah, so that's a story. I made a guy wait. I felt bad for that guy though, but then this next customer came in. I was working on the register, and this guy was paying in change, but this guy had the most disgusting money I've ever seen in my life. Like seriously,
Straight out of the gutter.
Yeah, it was like slimy shit. I don't even know what it was. And I remember he was short by like 10 or 20 cents in his order because he just bought a sub or whatever. And so he left the store straight up. He left the store to go get money out of his car, and it took him like 3 minutes or whatever. And all these guys are waiting behind him. I'm like, can you hurry up? Like, I don't want to get fucking yelled at, And I'm like, you're holding up my whole line here. And he finally comes back, and he's like I think he was like a cent short. So I just like type in that he has the correct amount of money because I want him to go through. So I just lie on the register.
Yeah.
And then his money he brought was also disgusting. So I put that in. I changed my gloves, like serve the other customers. But yeah, I remember that story well because he just had the most disgusting money I've ever seen in my life. I don't know why. That guy was very weird, but yeah. I did them a couple of times. I don't recommend it because it could be a crime.
Well, yeah. Well, it's only a little bit of a crime. It's only a little bit of illegal activity. Sometimes you gotta participate. Well, I don't know. I don't know if we want to say that crime is based. I mean, that's kind of it's kind of sketchy territory.
Right. I never got in trouble for it, but yeah. A couple of times the line was just very long, and I'm sure a bunch of other fast food workers know what I'm talking about. And you just want people to go through. So you just like, don't like add things to their order which cost money or whatever.
Oh yeah.
Just to make them go through faster when it's very busy, or you don't charge them the correct amount. You just take their money and they just leave. So sometimes I would end up getting people like free chips or a drink. They never said anything about it, and they left. So I'll just say that, hey, if you're one of those lucky people, hey, don't tell your manager, just between you and me.
Yeah.
You're hardworking fast food workers just trying to get you to go through. That's all. It's not any malicious or anything. I would charge you the full amount, but I just want you to go through anyway. Yeah, that's my other story, and then my last story with working at Jersey Mike's. So one time it wasn't very busy. I was making a sub or wrapping it. I can't remember. This couple came in, and their 2 boys were dressed up as girls, and they were trying to make them trans or whatever. And I was just very disgusted serving them because I was like fully aware of this stuff.
Wow, it's pretty wild, man. Just like seeing that on the street.
In my mind, I was like, you're a terrible parent. Your kids should be taken away from you. But like, yeah. Those type of people just like, piss you off when you're just like one of the few base people working at these like jobs. It's like, yeah, these like service jobs. So, yeah, that's my last story. I'm gonna tell with Jersey Mike's. Then I worked at Domino's Pizza for like one day.
One day. Oh my goodness, AP, you gotta work at these jobs longer, man. You gotta like one day a month, one day.
Yeah, so I'm on, Indeed, and I want to get another job, and this guy Domino's answers me right away. It's always a bad sign, by the way, when they answer you right away.
Yeah.
It's a very shit place to work. Yeah, so I go there. He immediately hires me. So I'm just like watching videos for like most of the day, just training videos. And I'm like making pizza. Well, I'm taking it out of like the oven because like one of those roller ovens and putting it in the boxes. And then I'm making like breadsticks, these like bread bites and breadsticks for like the rest of the day for like hours. And it's the most depressing place you could like. Everybody's being screamed at, they're threatening to take away your job. And it was like,
oh man.
No, yeah, it was a very terrible place to work. And this other girl was like, yeah, I hate my life. It's like the most depressed, dead-eyed person ever.
Bro, you could have got her. You could have saved her, AP. You could have saved her, bro. You could have saved her, AP.
Wasn't my type of girl, but yeah.
Why wasn't she a type of girl, AP? Why wasn't she a type of girl?
I'm not gonna go into that.
Tell no, we gotta know. Why wasn't she a type of girl? We gotta know.
She was like a 3 at best.
Oof,
Yeah,
oof.
not very a looker, but yeah, they scream at you. It's just a very terrible work environment, very depressing. So I quit. Did never talk to them again after that. Um, yeah, that's all the stories I'm gonna tell for now.
Okay. Oh, we never got into the drama? Did you want to get into some of the drama, or no? I mean, you can if you want to.
Yeah, so if you don't know, a couple of really great generals left. Nick Fuentes is moving America First. And there was a bunch of allegations. He's trying to dox them, harassing them. Then he searched, his friend's house for with a black light for cum on his couch. It's very weird behavior.
Yeah, it's pretty sussy.
Nick's movement has been declining for a long time now. It was, Jaden McNeil brought up a couple good points on Kino Casino. This website's probably fake. I believe that, and he scams the donors. He's actually political movement. Most of the time, these guys are screaming at each other, drunk, talking about anime. They're not serious political movement like APU is. And it's yeah. So I've just been done with them ever since, And Nick's just come out as a narcissist, which I've always known, kind of. He's always had that personality, and then he's fighting to report people to the feds, and he complains he's the most persecuted man in America. His money was stolen by the feds and it was returned, and he's threatening to dox his friends who didn't say the nicest things about him after he treated them like shit. It's just yeah. It's your standard drama stuff, That's all I have to always say about Nick, And yeah.
Boom. That's the drama there, folks. We got him, boys. We got him to admit to the drama. We got him, boys. He's over. AP's canceled. No, I'm joking. I'm joking, guys. I'm joking. We're just having a laugh here. Yeah. No, it's understandable. I understand. Yeah. Of course. Anyway, if that's it, do you have any more stories, AP?
Yeah, I'll go into one story real quick. So in high school, I had this English teacher who was a lesbian, and yeah, it was just very awkward with her because all she would talk about was how bad white people are, and how great LGBT was, and all this to the kids, by the way. It just was a terrible high school, but she was just very weird. She had that personality type of the high school teacher, the affluent white liberal woman who isn't affluent. It's just barely getting by on her shitty wage.
Yeah.
Teaching high school students and propagandizing people. And yeah, I remember that pretty well. It was a bunch of. Actually, let me get this other teacher real quick. So I had this black teacher who would teach this I think it was an English class or something. But yeah, I remember her class was filled with just degenerates. This guy would skip class. They were smoking.
Smoking weed or smoking
straight up this black guy in this class. It was just a bunch of shit. And screaming at people, and it was I don't know. My high school was just filled with a bunch of characters.
It was.
I'm sure everybody else was, but it was a Florida high school. That's what I'll say about that.
Yeah, well, Florida has to be a bit wild. I know from experience as a Florida man myself, but sometimes you gotta enjoy the wildness. You gotta learn to like them. You know what I mean? You gotta enjoy the variety of interesting people. Or at least I did. Maybe you hated them. You were like, I hate them all.
No, they made it interesting because I hated getting up early. No, that's the thing though. I remember back in middle school or whatever, elementary, when we had nap time. If you remember that, and how I hated nap time when I was little.
That was in when was that? Was that
we had nap time?
No.
So yeah. Careful what you wish for, kids, because you'll wish nap time was back.
Yeah.
I wish they had nap time for an hour. That would be great, actually, but instead they're just focused on propagandizing you.
Yeah.
Globalist liberalism. So that's
Okay.
Probably best that you don't, because you won't retain their propaganda anyway.
Yeah. Okay. I guess now, yeah, we can now get on to the final questions now. The final, get ready. The final question. So the first of our final questions is, what are your thoughts on the woman question? I've asked this to every guest so far. What are your thoughts on the woman question?
Well, my thoughts are pretty simple. Don't be a simp. Be red pilled. Understand how women are, their nature. Be the best man you can be. Don't be a beta. Don't be a simp. But be the leader. Be like a man. And don't let the women, take your place as the leader of the household as a man.
Yeah.
Don't be cocked. And don't simp. That's kind of my opinion on women. But we have to have them. We have to have kids. We have to have families. I'm on the incel on the sphere. You need to have kids. Gotta have kids.
Yeah.
That's very important.
Well, what is well, you don't have to go that into it, but what is their nature? What would you say their nature is? Just real quick.
I would say that their nature is very they want the best man they can get, the top 1% of man. They don't want the obese 30-year-old man who has nothing going on, his wife who has like a dead-end job, so
Yeah.
become something of a man. You have to actually work as a man to get anywhere in life. That's what I've learned in my 19 years on this earth. So that's why I would recommend on the women question.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that. Yeah. Okay, now the second one, the second of the greatest questions of all time. Bum bum bum. What are 3 books that you recommend? and for people to read.
For people to read, I would recommend James Burnham's The Machiavellans, Get into Theory. I'd recommend you read the Bible, and some actual spirituality, the truth. I recommend that. It's a very important book. And I recommend you read an American classic, like Moby Dick or something. You get into like some classic American authors. I recommend you get into some literature like that. Read books is what I would just genuinely recommend.
Yeah.
Wherever you are, read books. That's how all your YouTubers know all this stuff. It's because they read books. That's why John, Vince Dow, most of the members of the AP like me know what we're talking about, because we get it from books. So we recommend you read them. Get actually physical books, because Amazon or Audible, they can censor you at any time and take away your account. So I recommend you get physical books, so they can't ban them.
Yeah.
That's my opinion on the book question.
Okay. What is a question that you'd like to see added to the final list of questions? What question do you think I should ask other people in the future? What is the question that you think would be interesting for people to ask?
Where do you see the future of America being? What do you see the future as being? That's a pretty interesting question.
Okay. What do you see the future of America being, or what do you see?
America.
Let me write that down.
Where do you think the future's going? That's a pretty interesting question, I would say.
Yeah, since I don't just have actually my main focus is not political actually for this channel. So that will be an interesting question. I'm gonna get some I don't know, some anime YouTuber on, and I want to be asking them, so what do you think about the future what do you think the future of America will be? And I'm just they're gonna be like, No, but that
bring up the anime question. That's an interesting one.
Oh, the anime question.
That comes up on the right.
That is true.
A month. That's an interesting question as well. But that's what I would add to that.
Okay, now, shoot, this is the final one. We don't have a lot of questions yet. We've only had a couple. That's just because we've only had a couple episodes so far, so we don't have a lot of final questions yet. We've added on as we've had these interviews and we talked to people. So the final one is: who are 3 people that you recommend to come on the podcast, or have the ability to get on the podcast?
Well, I mean, just your dream people.
Who do you think should come on my? Who do you think should come on my? Who are 3 people that you think should come on my podcast and slash or have the ability to get them on my podcast?
I have the ability, or you do?
You do. Like you could. Yes.
Okay. I would recommend Mr. Prudentialist if he wants to talk about geopolitics, like what's going on with this Ukraine stuff. I would recommend him. Maybe David Carlson, or I don't know, one of them. Maybe Mr. Easy from the script writing team. He's pretty intelligent. Maybe he would be a good guest for this podcast.
Mm-hmm. He has a YouTube channel too, right? Doesn't Mr. Easy have a YouTube channel?
I don't know. I think he might. But I do. That's what we're mainly talking about for my podcast.
Yes. Yeah. So you can also check. Well, you don't have a podcast. You don't. I mean, you have like a show. My podcast. Yes. There's people that should be at my podcast. My victory. Who will bring my podcast up to #1 until we become the #1 podcast in Florida. Which, let's be honest, that's some pretty that's a pretty high bar, since a lot of podcasts are now being filmed in Florida. Since I think actually. The Impulsive, Logan Paul's podcast, a lot of episodes are actually filmed in Florida now, since Logan Paul's moved to Puerto Rico. He does a lot of filming in Puerto Rico, and he does some filming of his podcast in Florida. And also a lot of other people live in Florida. But, that's the new hubs. The new hubs are in like California and like Tennessee, I guess. The new hubs of not just right-wing politics, but just like general commentary and like entertainment spheres. Since California is going... Well, it still exists and will still be important. It's kind of gone downhill, as I'm sure you can agree. Oh, also Texas on the list too.
I would agree with you. People are moving to Florida. Rose knows what a great state it is. But I would be very wary of that because a bunch of people are moving to Florida, don't exactly share its culture, values, or politics. You gotta be careful with that. But
of course, yeah.
There's a lot of base people as well, so it's a mixed bag.
Yeah,
is what I would say. But I would say Florida's moving in the right direction.
Okay.
A bunch of good people in there.
Yeah, I agree.
Unlike most of the state GOPs, I would say Florida's one of the most competent ones.
Of course, yeah, I'd have to agree with that. Yeah, let's just be honest. There's just not a lot of competition. Like, if there's more competition, I feel like it'd be a little bit harder to be like, oh, Florida's great. But because there's not that many other people even playing the game, it's like, well, Florida's on top.
They're just playing to lose.
Yeah.
Which is what they're kind of controlled opposition, which is most of the GOP at this point.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, which is why we have to replace them, but we're working on it.
Exactly. Okay, well, is there anything else you'd like to add? Anything else you'd like to add before we do a little bit of shilling for you and for me?
Yeah, I would just say if you're interested in geopolitics, I would recommend you watch Mr. Prudentialist. I know him pretty well. Really intelligent guy. If you want to understand geopolitics, I recommend you watch Dave. If you want to understand neo-reactionary or Charlemagne. And watch me, obviously.
Yes, also check out American Populist. Yes, yeah, please check out American
content. I promise.
Yes, he's gonna have content up the week that I upload this to YouTube. He's gonna have another video up. Can we get a promise of that here, folks?
I can't confirm. We can have one.
Yes. Okay.
It's coming. It's coming.
Yeah. So do you also have a Twitter? Do you have a Twitter or Instagram you like to promote?
I do have a Twitter account. It's just @American Populist. You can DM me if you have any questions or.
Yes, if you have any questions, you can always @American Populist or get into his DMs.
You're welcome to. My DMs are open.
Yes, American Populist DMs are open. And if there's any pretty ladies that would like to contact American Populist, they can always do so in his DMs. Isn't that right?
I don't know about that. Twitter people are it's good. Exactly. But sure, go ahead. We'll give it a try. Sure, man.
We'll give it a try. We'll give it a try for AP. We'll give it a try. Okay, well, make sure to check out American Populist on YouTube and Twitter. He's a great guy. But also, if you've watched all of this, then you should also check out this YouTube channel, the JayTheory Podcast. Please subscribe. And also, I have a Patreon that you can subscribe to and give me a couple of bucks where you can find the uncensored podcast and just some other crazy videos that I've done. And also, I have other YouTube channels, my Jamie Boy channel, JAMMEYBOY, where I have some like anime and some other videos and my streaming stuff that I do there. I'm also Jamie Boy on Twitch, which you can find, guess what, on Twitch. it's a fun time. If you liked my voice and you liked what I've done today, you'll also love that content. Well, at least you probably will, since maybe you came for AP. If you did, that's pretty good too, since we are appreciators of our boy AP. And if you didn't come here for AP and you came for me, make sure to subscribe to American Populist. Anyway, I think that'll be it for today, folks. Thanks for everything, guys. Anyway, bye, guys. Bye.
Have a nice day.
Have a nice day.